Hi everybody, Brody here from Brody's Garage, episode 22. Today is February 2nd, Groundhog Day, and the groundhog came out today and said it's going to take me another 6 months to get this stupid car finished here. No, he didn't say that actually. Things are moving along pretty well. I got a few things done here that I'm actually pretty happy about. Would you like to know what they are? Well, here they are. Well, I was really proud of my nice clean cuts that I made from my rear speakers. And you know what? Things change when you change your perspective. They look like they were nice and spaced out center, but when you come over here, I realized that the reference points that I was using, which were these notched holes here, I figured, well, those are probably symmetrically spaced across this, but no, they're not. For some strange reason, they're not. They're off center. So guess what? One of my holes is going to have to move. And so what I decided to do was I kept the piece of plate that I cut out, and kind of luckily I'd scored it with some lines so it was easy to line back up. And I used some magnets to hold it in place. I'm going to weld this thing back in, or at least tack weld it back in, and then I'm going to recut my hole where it's supposed to be. So why am I showing you this? I could have easily left this out. I could have just showed you the final product and said, look how great I am. Look how awesome I did this on the first try. But I'm doing this because I'm making mistakes, stupid, simple mistakes that now, instead of being a simple job, which I could have been done with the install of these speakers now, just drill 4 holes and pop them in, done. But no, I got to go back, weld this in, recut the hole, so I probably set myself back an hour. Anyway, I'm doing this to show you that I am human, I am fallible, and A, be careful when you're doing this. Double check your measurements, stand back, look at it from all angles, double check it again before you cut. Measure once, or what do they say? Measure twice, cut once. Fool me once, shame on me, something like that. Anyway, I'm also showing you how I'm going to fix the problem. So there you go. Somebody learn from me, learn from my mistakes and my stupidity. I'm figuring this out as I go. Remember in the Superman movie in the 80s when he flies around the globe so fast that it spins the globe backwards and it reverses time, and he's able to go back and save what's her name, Margot, whatever her name was. Anyway, that's what I'm doing right now. I'm flying backwards to reverse my stupid mistakes. So look, I've welded back in the original panel right where it used to be. It's like it never ever left there. So we're gonna grind that down and we're gonna recut the hole where it's supposed to be in the new location. Okay, well that ended up setting me back maybe 30 minutes, not quite as bad as I thought. And I won't say that it's good as new, but it's good enough. I patched up my spot, moved the hole over. I just moved it over, that's all I did. I just dragged the hole over. And now I'm gonna mount my speakers. Well, there you go. It's much better than it was the first attempt. And I'm finding that no matter where you measure from, there are slight variances in the curvature of this window frame. The package tray isn't even exactly the same distance from there to there as it is from there. So I don't know, it's within 1/8 of an inch of being squared up and centered. Good enough, and plus I'm gonna have dark tinted windows, and you know what? I'm gonna move on to the next thing. Next up for bids, we have the access panel from Speedway Motors that just arrived yesterday. And I'm going to cut a hole in my trunk floor pan there. And this thing is going to have a hinge on it and a couple of Zeus fasteners, and it'll pop open so that I can access the top of my fuel tank where my fuel pump and my sending unit are. I took some measurements underneath, and I'm going to try to do this with the tank still in place. It's very shallow beneath the trunk surface, so I got to be very careful when cutting. But I'm going to make a couple initial cuts and just kind of see where everything is. I've taken this little scribe here, and I've gone around the edges and kind of marked the boundaries for this thing. I'm actually not going to cut all the way out to the edge of this because there are a couple of rails, brace rails underneath the trunk that I don't want to cut into, and really I don't need to go the full extent of this door opening. I'm just going to go to maybe over here or something like that. So I'm going to mark myself a template and get to cutting. All right, there's my markings right there, and as you can see, this line, which one is it? This line right here, this inside one, is where I'm going to actually cut to, right there and there. My front edge is there, and yeah, that's it. So I'm not going to cut all the way out to the perimeter of the door. I'm going to just cut out to where the frame rail is underneath the floor pan. Let's do it. All right, guys, we're all watching this happen for the first time. I have not seen what's underneath this yet. About to pop this thing open and take a look. Did I do okay? Well, maybe not. Maybe I went too far forward with it, because while I'm able to get to my fittings, I probably can't get the pump out of here. I cut it a little bit too far forward. Kind of need a bigger panel is what I need. Well, I decided to go ahead and pull my fuel pump out of the tank. I ended up notching the hole back further, and I'm going to have to weld in a little strip back into that front edge there. But at least I know I can get the pump in and out with it like this. I just got to fill in that gap there. So here's the pump assembly. It's dual. They're supposed to be 450 Walbros. Now, it says something else there on their TI something, and part number F90002. I'm not going to take this all apart, but anyway, that's what the pumps look like. A primary and an auxiliary and a return line coming back to the tank, and power for the tank. And there's the sending unit over there. All right, I'm going to put it back in, and I'm going to, well, fix my mess. So anyway, there's the hole in its final state, and I got to tell you, the handiest little tip that I got from Brian McGee, a fellow Nova enthusiast, was to pick up some of these nutserts and a nut rivet tool like this guy right here. I got this on Amazon as a kit, and I got to say, slick idea for, you know, riveting in some little nuts, inserts, that you can now screw directly into. So that little ring and panel and all this stuff will just screw down into that. And I don't have to deal with a nut on the other side. I'm just waiting for some more of these to arrive right now, because you only get like a dozen of each size with the included kit. So anyway, that will go on as soon as those other screws and rivets arrive. And then I've got myself a nice handy little access portal there to get to the pump and the fittings. All right, well, there is the radio box welded in to the dash with the media player slid in there right now. It is a snug fit. I don't think it's going anywhere, but I will drill some holes through the side of here and go into the chassis of the radio just to lock it in place. Had a little bit of a mishap up here. I guess I had cut too much material out of the dash. A little bit too tall, so my gap was a little too tall. So what I did is I got some 3/16 thick brake line, and I cut a little piece off and welded it in there to kind of fill in the gap. So it's all just kind of tacked in there. And I think my plan is I'm going to take some other little sheet metal plates, and I'm going to make some side plates to go there and over here. Just some little strips that are going to weld in there to give a foundation. And then I'm going to take this thicker piece of metal here, which I've already kind of traced out to fit the dash, and I'm going to cut that interior out, I guess with the jigsaw, because, you know, I don't have any cool CNC mills or anything laying around. If I'm being totally honest with you, I kind of dig the Frankenstein look of all this. Now I'm going to grind it down smooth and make it all slick, and I don't know. But for right now, I'm kind of digging the Frankenstein look. All right, on to the faceplate. Well, I think I'm going to call it a day. I did manage to achieve my goal for the day, which was to get that thing installed, at least in as far as I built the complete box surround for it. I finished off the front with these little side plates right here so that I have something to drill into, and then mount this faceplate, which, by the way, for using only hand tools, I'm pretty proud of how clean those lines came out. It'll go on there somehow like that, and then I'm going to basically drill 4 holes in this and countersink them, and then use a tapered head stainless screw with an Allen hex, and that'll mount that to these panels right there. So that'll be done. I still have to also drill a hole in the side panel and locate the holes in the stereo unit so that I've got the radio fixed to the framework. I don't think it's going anywhere. That sucker is in there very snug, but of course I'm going to do it and anchor it down completely. For the rest of the dash, by the way, I've got the AC unit kind of back in there just to make sure that it clears, and it does. No problems there. I've got to finish up a little bit of contour work here on the AC control panel area, and a little bit more work over here for this vent. As you recall, I screwed up and cut too much material out. It was supposed to have looked like that one. So I'll finish that up, grind down my holes underneath the dash. And then as far as the interior goes, I'm kind of done in here, at least for the time being. And then what'll happen is the car will get primered, painted, all the bodywork will be done, and then we'll come back in and we'll put our sound deadener, our seam sealer, of course, first around all the cracks and creases and seams, and then sound deadener. I've got the Dynamat material. I still have to weld in a brace across here because I cut the one out to make room for the larger speakers. As you can see on the passenger side, I still have to cut that hole out behind the kick panel, and then I'll have to weld in that brace across here to reinforce this. The Dakota Digital dash cluster just goes right in there. That's already done. Radio is about 90% complete now. I do have the glove box door. As far as a glove box, I don't think there will actually be much of a glove box there because I'm still trying to decide if I'm going to mount my Holley ECU or ECM unit in there, or if I'm going to put it underneath or inside the center console, which I still have to make. Ideally, it's going to be somewhere where I can get to it easily, and I can also see the code lights. There's a series of LED lights that tell you different trouble codes on it, so I want to be able to access that or see it easily. Got to modify these vents for clearance of the wiper arm. And then, yeah, the interior stuff is coming along pretty well. I got to get my seats back over here and test fit those and get the brackets all worked out. Still haven't decided if I'm going to build a panel to seal that area off. If nothing else, just to keep, you know, the elements out and reduce the interior sound as much as possible. I think I'm going to put a thin, maybe either a very thin plywood or PVC core material, and then put sound deadener over that, just so we can seal this off as well as possible. I have the one-piece molded headliner over there in a box. What else? I've got to order reproduction glass for the ones that I ruined. If you recall my grinding and welding, I pitted up my 2 pieces of windshield that I bought, which was a drag. But anyway, that's pretty much it for right now. The transmission, I keep calling and they keep pushing it back a week. The latest is they're waiting for a component for the torque converter. The transmission is done and they want to ship it out with the converter, and it could be anywhere from a week to 2 more weeks. When that gets here, the engine will bolt up to that, and I will lift those into the car and get those bolted in, and then I can start test fitting all my plumbing for the turbos and all that stuff. Exciting stuff. Oh, front fenders. I located a pair of front fenders after much hoopla. I thought after all I'd been through already with the junk fenders and all that, I located a pair of NOS GM 67 Nova fenders up in Seattle and had dialogue with the guy. Told him, I said, I want them. We just got to figure out the shipping. He did not want to deal with the shipping. I said, okay, just hang on to them. I'll figure something out. I said, do you want a deposit? He says, no, I'm not trying to sell them. Don't worry, I know that you need them. Great. Guy sells them out from underneath me. He calls me and tells me, yeah, man, I ended up trading them off for some other parts, but it was nice talking with you. Can you believe that shit? So went back on the forums and posted my dilemma, and lo and behold, I located another set of original used fenders. They're not brand new GM NOS, but they are used fenders in really clean shape. The only downside is They've got the holes where the original side moldings went in, and so I'm going to have to weld those up and grind them down smooth, but not a big deal. The guy is working on the shipping right now. At least this guy is willing to help out with the shipping, and he's also throwing in a pair of NOS headlight bezels with those, so pretty good deal. Not cheap, but in this day and age, it's just, you're lucky if you can even find this stuff. My used parts that I got from Brian McGee for the interiors of the door and the steering column mount and the brake pedal have all been sandblasted down to bare metal, and my friend Al Nakata has sprayed them all with epoxy primer at his shop in Pahrump. I should be getting those back soon from him. And I think that is all for now. At least that's all I can remember. My brain is starting to get fuzzy. It's time for dinner and a cold beer. I hope to see you guys on the next episode. So subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care.